Warning, this video is a highly sensitive subject and is not appropriate for children. Please do not watch this with your children, and if you are highly sensitive to wickedness, please do not watch this video.
That's a ring of my profession. You don't know nothing about that.
Okay, can we get a close-up on that? There it is.
I don't know nothing about
What
that.
is the profession?
Yeah, which profession are we talking about?
Just look at it.
Is it a legal profession?
Of course it's legal. It's a ring of my profession.
I'm trying to read it. Okay.
It's too many diamonds.
Yeah, that's too bright. That's too bright.
Go anyway.
Oh, Mason, are you a Mason?
Of course I am.
Okay.
The secret ceremony.
Well, you might as well put your pinky out when you drink
Of
your drink.
course I am.
Put your pinky out.
Are you involved in the secret ceremonies with the
Stop it.
pencils and the...
Everyone wears...
Anyway, the Clippers. The Clippers.
Ring, but that is impressive, Mr. O'Neill.
I don't have a championship.
Anyway, so the Clippers.
Oh, yeah, I have four.
Those he doesn't wear.
No, he doesn't win. The Clippers.
Yeah.
As I was blinded by success.
It's the world's most well-known secret society. Rich with symbols and ritual, it's a source of legends. Welcome to the world of Freemasonry.
True or false, the Masons are a secret society?
No, that's false.
UCLA history professor Margaret Jacob is one of the world's leading experts on Freemasonry.
True or false, Freemasonry is a religion?
No, it's false.
True or false, Masons were behind the American Revolution?
False, false, false.
Okay, but what about on the dollar bill? The eye
yeah,
and the
the
pyramid?
eye, yeah.
I mean, that's Masonic, right?
No, everybody says it's Masonic. In fact, it's a commonplace in the 18th century, that particular set of symbols.
True, Freemasons laid the cornerstone of America, well, at least some of its most iconic structures. So what is Freemasonry? Simply put, it's the world's oldest and largest fraternity.
Even while blindfolded, try to concentrate on what you are asked, what is said to you, and what is happening around you. Everything will be explained to you in later sections of the degree.
When a candidate comes in through the door, he's blindfolded because symbolically he's in a state of darkness, because Masonry is all about moving from darkness into Masonic light.
That it's about.
In my Black History Month series, as I broke down about the Black secret societies, there was a topic that was in the midst of it all, but never really clearly broken down. When waking up to the truth of this world, you'll find that there are so many things that need to be discussed and relearned. But the thing is that, in order to proceed in understanding many of these topics that may have been concealed from us, this overall topic must be understood. Now, this topic is something that needs attention, but unfortunately, it is very hard to break down in fullness, unless you're someone that has been exposed to their secrets and that has come out from them and then has chosen to risk your life in exposing them. It's also very hard to learn because of the amount of disinformation and lies that are told. Like, I recently went through a book that was covering this topic, but it was filled with so many small lies and false statements, it was very hard to read. This topic is also very hard to tackle because of the structure of the organization and the way that they reveal their information and or secrets. There are degrees and levels within the organization, and you will find that, personally, those that will tell you that certain information is not true, they are saying this only because they are not initiated in that degree that gives them the access to the full understanding, or they're just trying to keep you from the truth, lying to you. Either way, because they are so strong in concealing their secrets and the truth, this is why we only know what they want us to know. Again, it's very hard breaking this group down. I am not a Mason and I've never been one. No one in my family has ever been one, and I do not know any personally that could provide me with any additional knowledge that I could use. But in the end, it does not matter because they still need to be discussed. You cannot live in this world and understand anything about the Matrix or the secret world that's hidden from the masses without understanding this organization. In dealing with this world, you must at least understand what Freemasonry is, so we're going to tackle it now. Let's begin. Freemasonry is one of the most misunderstood organizations. It appears on the surface to most Masons and non-Masons alike to be a friendly, fraternal organization which meets to fellowship. Their organization, including the Shriners, are responsible for public good and many charities. If you ask the majority about Freemasonry, most people will tell you that they have heard of them, but they can't tell you much more than that they are a secret society, and many United States presidents were a part of them. That is pretty much the extent of knowledge the mass population has of this group. They know they exist, but they don't know why. They may have watched documentaries on the History Channel, but those documentaries only give a bunch of half-truths and make general accusations that they never really prove to be true, so it builds no conviction either way. But with an organization that has such a long history, that so many notable people throughout history from all aspects of life are claimed to be members of, this should be a subject that the majority of the world understands, especially since they have so much influence over our daily modern lives. What a Freemason might tell you about the organization is that Freemasonry is a fellowship of men, and men alone, who are bound by oaths to a method of self-betterment. The method centers on rituals performed in isolation from the outside world, in which symbols stand for moral qualities. That's what they might say. They will be proud to tell you and emphasize that they are brothers of an organization that boasts members such as George Washington and no fewer than 14 other presidents of the United States, at least 5 kings of England, Benjamin Franklin, Winston Churchill, Paul Revere, Buzz Aldrin, Wolfgang Mozart, golfing legend Arnold Palmer, entertainer Harry Houdini, business titans like Henry Ford and Walt Disney, singer Nat King Cole, boxer Sugar Ray Robinson, rapper Jay-Z, and basketball great Shaquille O'Neal. And that's a very small list that I'm giving you. These are just some of the names that have shared and not concealed their membership to this organization. But it easily can be seen that many at the top of their game and at the highest levels of our modern day society are a part of this organization. But that doesn't actually mean that everyone at the top are Masons. Now today, the way this world is though, that statement is getting harder and harder to validate. Its members are in a very diverse range from the likes of tradesmen, merchants, lawyers, actors, Jews, Africans, and those that have descended from the transatlantic slave trade. Today, there are approximately 6 million Masons around the world, with 1.1 million Freemasons in the United States and 400,000 in Britain. It's said in the past the numbers were much greater, but again, the average person knows very little about them. And it's ironic too, because the activities that go on in private behind the doors of their lodges have helped spread many of the values many people of this world today associate with modern public life. Values like living by a code of religious and racial tolerance, democracy, global politics, and equality. These are all their values. On another note, Masons have helped shape things like imperialism and global war, the building and breaking of states and nations, dictatorships, and religious fanaticism. A Mason may tell you that we are not a secret society. We are a society with secrets. And that's true, because honestly, how can an organization this large with so many notable members ever be a secret? It's not that they are secret, it's just that what they believe in and are purpose with is concealed and hidden. So let's get away from the introduction of them and go into who they are. Let me cover this first. This may surprise people because for the majority, Freemasonry is looked at as an organization, as a secret society, but it is in fact a religion. I will prove this later. But Freemasonry goes back to the mystery religions of ancient Sumeria. It is a religion. Now, Freemasons will tell you that they came into existence in the early 18th century, around the year 1717. I believe that's the overall claim, but that's not correct. Maybe the overall organization came in to be known by, but this is an ancient mystery religion that has been passed down over centuries since ancient Babylon with Nimrod and Tammuz. This knowledge didn't go away for thousands of years and come back in the 18th century. Absolutely not. To understand it all better, we have to go back and discuss an important group that I've covered in depth as well. This is the Knights Templar. They were also known as the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, and also known as the Order of Solomon's Temple. The Knights Templar, or simply the Templars, were a Catholic military order founded in 1119, and they were headquartered on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem through 1128. This is when they came back to Rome and they amassed untold power given by the Pope. They were acclaimed guardians and protectors of the Holy Grail. I cover this in the series, History That Should Not Be Ignored. That history is very important to understand if you want to understand this world today. If you haven't watched that video, the link is in the description box. The Templars were presented in history as Christian soldiers who fought for the glory of Christ. But the truth is that there was a very dark side to them that was done in secret. They were sorcerers, magicians, and alchemists. Many people that lived during their time shunned them, believing them to be in league with unclean powers. They were the beginning of the known black magic-based organizations that were brought to the open. Although individual knights were bound to a vow of poverty, this did not prevent the order from amassing great wealth and on an unprecedented scale. The temple received in abundance, but as a matter of strict policy, it never gave. During the next 100 years, the Templars became a power with international influence. They were constantly engaged in high-level diplomacy among nobles and monarchs throughout the Western world and the Holy Land. So what happened to them? In the early 14th century, the French king, King Philip, moved against the Templars. He branded them as devil worshippers. At dawn on Friday, October the 13th, 1307, all Templars in France were to be seized and placed under arrest by the king's men. Their common houses placed under royal sequestration, their goods were confiscated. It was on this day, October the 13th, that the Templars were burned alive. And this is where we get the famous Friday the 13th from. Now, it's said that not all the Templars were killed during this Friday the 13th seizure. There is persuasive evidence that there was some sort of organized flight by a particular group of the knights, virtually all of whom were in some way connected with the order's treasurer. The treasure of the temple, together with almost all his documents and records, disappeared. The papal bulls that King Philip sent dissolving the Templars was never proclaimed in Scotland, and therefore the order was never technically dissolved in Scotland. Many English and French Templars found a Scottish refuge, but they were no longer in power in the open. In the series about the history that should not be ignored, we trace the influence of the wealthy Medicis back to the Templars, and we see how they masked themselves through their wealth. But that's another subject in itself. This understanding about the Templars is important to know because this is where we see the formation of Freemasonry. Many Freemasons claim the Templars to be their predecessors. Certain Masonic rites or observances claim direct lineal descent from the Templar order, as well as authorized custody of its arcane secrets. Certain Masonic lodges have adopted the grade of Templar, as well as rituals and appellations supposedly descended from the original order. The black magic and secrets of the Templar went underground after the dissolution of the Templars by King Philip, and they reorganized over 4 centuries, passing down their knowledge, later coming back out of the shadows with Scottish Rite Freemasonry. And this is a good starting point to understand them from. Now let's talk about their beliefs and beginnings. Just like with the Templars, Solomon's Temple is very important to Freemasonry. Now, many of us who have read our Bibles know of King Solomon, son of King David. We know the history of him according to the Bible. But to the other side who are enemies of the Bible, they have a different view on Solomon. Believers in the Bible see major mistakes done by Solomon that had major consequences for all of Yasharel. But among the other nations, King Solomon is praised and he made no mistakes. Among the Eastern nations, King Solomon is esteemed as a great magician who had great power over the spirit world. It was said he gained this power from Satan, who gave him a ring of power with his symbol on the ring. This symbol is known as the Seal of Solomon, also known as the Star of David. The Seal of Solomon is a hexagram and hides complex meanings, but it is a symbol highly used in witchcraft. The symbol was supposedly used on Solomon's ring and gave him the power to understand and communicate with animals and to conjure up spirits to do his bidding. Kabbalists and alchemists are very fond of this symbol. It's also hidden on the United States dollar. It is not a symbol of Yahuwah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Elohim of Yasharel. It has nothing to do with him. The point of this knowledge is that from Solomon's mistake, the glory of ancient Yasharel went downhill, and Lucifer used Solomon's disobedience in creating and establishing his doctrine for future worship of him by his own name. Let me explain where Solomon fits in. In reference to Freemasonry, according to the Freemason Dictionary, the Temple of Solomon plays a very important part. It is said in Freemasonry that Solomon, Huram, king of Tyre, and Hiram Abith presided as Grand Masters over the lodges which they established. It's said that their symbolic degrees were instituted and the systems of initiation were invented, and from that period to the present, Freemasonry has been passed down. It's said that almost all the symbolism of Freemasonry rests upon or is derived from the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. Each Masonic lodge is and must be a symbol of the temple. It's said each master in the chair represents King Solomon, and every Freemason is a personation of the Jews who worked on the temple. It's important to understand that Satan wants to be like Yahuwah, so he must use the things of Yahuwah, but pervert them. This is why there will be an Antichrist. I hope it starts connecting that Satan's primary goal is to pervert the things of Yahuwah. He's not just making up his own doctrine, but he's making up a perversion of Yahuwah's. This is why the building of the third temple is so important to this new occult age. This is a goal of Freemasonry, and the events transpiring today are being orchestrated by these men within this structure of power. Freemasonry and the occult all use Solomon as a symbol for their rebellion, particularly because of how great and important Solomon was. The history is very important to understand. Again, like I said earlier, Freemasonry is not just an organization, it's a religion. The goal of the religion of Freemasonry is to spread the light of Freemasonry to the world. Now, I will explain deeper just exactly what that light is, but let me define it based on Albert Mackey's Masonic Dictionary. He writes this about light. Light is an important word in the Masonic system. It conveys a far more recondite meaning than it is believed to possess by the generality of readers. It is, in fact, the first of all the symbols presented to the neophyte, and continues to be presented to him in various modifications throughout all his future progress in his Masonic career. It does not simply mean, as might be supposed, truth or Sodom, but it contains within itself a far more abstruse, meaning difficult to understand, allusion to the very essence of speculative Freemasonry, and embraces within its capacious signification all the other symbols of the order. Freemasons are emphatically called the Sons of Light, because they are, or at least are entitled to be, in possession of the true meaning of the symbol, while the profane or uninitiated who have not received this knowledge are, by a parody of expression, said to be in darkness. Okay, so he simply said that from the time a new member becomes a Mason, he is in possession of the light. And basically, as he goes throughout the degrees, he goes through a deeper understanding of what this light is. It is the Mason's job to spread this light, and those that are not Masons are in darkness. So just hold that thought, because we're going to go and get deeper. Now, listen, I want you to be mindful of when you hear people speak of light. When people say this word, it may not mean what you think that they are implying. If you are mindful of this when leaders use this word, it will help you stay out of the mind control that they use against us. Just be careful when you hear people speak about spreading the light or seeing the light. Now, there are many books that provide information about Freemasonry, but I believe in understanding their beliefs. There's no better book to start from than 33rd degree Freemason Albert Pike's. Albert Pike is the only Confederate military officer or figure to be honored with a statue in Washington, D.C. He wrote an 861-page volume of lectures on the esoteric roots of Freemasonry, specifically the 32nd degree Scottish Rite. The book is called Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, or simply just Morals and Dogma. It is a book of esoteric philosophy published by the Supreme Council of the 33rd degree, Scottish Rite, first published in 1872. Until 1964, this book was given to every Mason completing the 14th degree in the southern jurisdiction of the U.S. Scottish Rite Freemasons. There are 32 chapters, each discussing the philosophical symbology of a degree of Freemasonry in exhaustive detail. Though it discusses Masonic rituals at length, it is written so as not to reveal the Masonic secrets. It's written very confusingly, and you can feel the evil coming off of the pages. I do not recommend actually reading this book. Ritual motions and objects are named and elaborated upon, but not described. Again, it is not a book I recommend reading. Do not buy this book. In some older editions, the title of the book declares in large bold letters, "Esoteric book for Scottish Rite use only, to be returned upon withdrawal or death of recipient." Yeah, it's completely evil. I've never owned this book. There are downloads of it, but it's not something I'm going to share. In the book, though, it does bring a lot of clarity about Freemasonry and what they believe. There are a lot of things mentioned in the book that I will bring to light. Now note, as we read, he explains things to keep most of their secrets and mysteries concealed, so don't get caught up in understanding every word. Remember, it's not for you to understand. Let's get to it. So I'm going to jump to first the end of the book to prove a point I made earlier in reference to Freemasonry deriving from the Templars. On page 820, when discussing the 31st degree, the book says, "The end of the drama is well known, and how Jacques de Molay and his fellows perished in the flames. But before his execution, the chief of the doomed order organized and instituted what afterward came to be called the occult, Hermetic or Scottish Masonry. In the gloom of his prison, the Grand Master created 4 metropolitan lodges at Naples for the east, at Edinburgh for the west, at Stockholm for the north, and at Paris for the south." Page 821. "The order disappeared at once. Its estates and wealth were confiscated, and it seemed to have ceased to exist. Nevertheless, it lived, under other names and governed by unknown chiefs, revealing itself only to those, in passing through a series of degrees, had proven themselves worthy to be entrusted with the dangerous secret. The initiates, in fact, thought in the 18th century that their time had arrived, some to found a new hierarchy, others to overturn all authority, and to press down all the summits of the social order under the level of equality." Okay, this clearly tells that Freemasonry is just a rebranding of the Templars. And if you watch my series when speaking of the Templars and then the Medicis, and as I explained that the Medicis came out of nowhere with wealth and power after the Templars were disbanded, you can understand that what was just written is true. They stopped being a group in the public and went into the shadows, but still had enormous wealth and power that they yielded. Now, in more understanding of them, it's important to know that in order to be a Freemason, you must believe in God. You can't be an atheist and become a Mason. Now, whoever you want to call God and believe in, they don't care, but you must believe in God. On page 11, when discussing the first degree, the book says, "The holy book, square, and compasses are not only styled the great lights in Masonry, but they are also technically called the furniture of the lodge. And as you have seen, it is held that there is no lodge without them. This has sometimes been made a pretext for excluding Jews from our lodges, because they cannot regard the New Testament as a holy book. The Bible is an indispensable part of the furniture of a Christian lodge, only because it is the sacred book of the Christian religion. The Hebrew Pentateuch in a Hebrew lodge, and the Quran in a Mohammedan one, belong on the altar, and one of these, and the square and compass properly understood, are the great lights by which a Mason must walk and work." Okay, so they've already embraced the one world religion, and they're doing a whole lot of other stuff. You should understand that there's no conflict with being a Christian and being a Mason, though, which is why there's so many Christian pastors that are Masons. But yeah, they clearly embrace the one world religion, and as we keep going, we will understand why. There are so many points I could bring out from this book, but let's just go back to my earlier point about Freemasonry going back to the ancient mystery religions. Like I said earlier, Freemasonry is just a rebranding of the ancient mystery religions. On page 23, when discussing the second degree, the book says, "Though Masonry is identical with the ancient mysteries, it is so only in this qualified sense, that it presents but an imperfect image of their brilliancy, the ruins only of their grandeur, and a system that has experienced progressive alterations, the fruits of social events, political circumstances, and the ambitious imbecility of its improvers. After leaving Egypt, the mysteries were modified by the habits of the different nations among whom they were introduced, and especially by the religious systems of the countries into which they were transplanted. To maintain the established government, laws, and religion was the obligation of the initiate everywhere, and everywhere they were heritage of the priest, who were nowhere willing to make the common people co-proprietors with themselves of philosophical truth." Again, it's just a rebranding of the ancient mystery religions. So listen, I've gone through this history in many different videos, like when I spoke about what is a pagan. I've also spoken about the mystery religions when I spoke about Christianity. The ancient mysteries starts back at what was done at Babel with the Tower of Babel, and then it went on to Egypt. Then it went on to Babylon, and as I presented in the Testing Christianity series, as we spoke about the Greek philosophers, the Greeks took over the mysteries, and they have been the ones who have been the main keepers of these mysteries. Well, let's say the Romans are, because they took over the Greek culture. And that's what Hellenization and the spread of Greek culture has always been about. Most people are completely unaware and ignorant of the ancient mysteries, but this world has been promoting our acceptance of it and our participation in it. For instance, the celebration of Christmas and Easter are all a part of the ancient mysteries. which is why it's an accepted practice all over the world. I mean, do you really think that the world wants to celebrate the Messiah's birthday when the Messiah himself said that the world would hate him? Of course not. As it is written, after leaving Egypt, the mysteries were modified by the habits of the different nations among whom they were introduced, and especially by the religious systems of the countries into which they were transplanted. They just conformed the practices to the nation that they were in. And this is what has been done in our culture today. And the overall group of Christians in this world, though they're influenced by this, they fight for the mysteries with every fiber of their being. Now, like I said earlier, Freemasonry is not just an organization, but it's a religion.
True or false, Freemasonry is a religion?
No, it's false.
On page 213, in discussing the 13th degree, the book explains, every Masonic lodge is a temple of religion, and its teachings are instruction in religion. This point is concealed from the general public who think of it only as a secular organization, but he explains it more here. Going on into page 219, discussing the 14th degree, the book explains, much of the Masonic secret manifests itself, without speech revealing it to him who even partially comprehends all the degrees in proportion as he receives them, and particularly to those who advance to the highest degrees of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. The Rite raises a corner of the veil, even in the degree of apprentice, for it there declares that Masonry is a worship. You see, Masonry is a form of worship. It's really so deep. In the book, it explains what the whole goal or end result is for them. On page 274, discussing the 17th degree, the book explains, behold the object, the end, the result of the great speculations and logomacchies of antiquity. The ultimate annihilation of evil and restoration of man to his first estate by a Redeemer, a Messiah, a Christos, the incarnate word, reason, or power of deity. Okay, now we're really getting warm. So the object of the endgame for them is the annihilation of evil and restoration of man by a Messiah figure. Now, it gives more detail on page 287 on the 18th degree. It says, you see, my brother, what is the meaning of Masonic light? You see why the east of the lodge, where the initial letter of the name of the deity overhangs the master, is the place of light? Light, as contradistinguished from the darkness, is good, as contradistinguished from, and that is the light, the true knowledge of the deity, the eternal good for which Masons in all ages have sought. Still, Masonry marches steadily on toward that light that shines, and that light of the day, when they feel that evil and overcome and vanquished, shall fade away and disappear. And the life and light be the, and whatever. You can read it for yourself. The degree of the rose teaches three things: the unity, immutability, and goodness, and the immortality of the soul. And here it is. And the ultimate defeat and extinction of evil and wrong and sorrow by a Redeemer or Messiah yet to come, if he has not already appeared. All right, that's a lot of evil right there. Let's be clear though, and understand that Freemasonry is all about a coming Messiah coming forth in this world. This is their one main agenda that they're all about. This is what they believe in. I want you to take note how so many Masons can say they believe in Jesus and they're all about Jesus. It's because they are referring to a different Messiah that they are waiting for, and they are going to convert the world to believe in this coming Messiah. But let's bring this all home. Do you know what their ultimate defeat and extinction of evil is? To answer that question, we need to clearly understand the God that they worship. Now, the book makes many references to the pagan gods and goddesses, but there's a very clear statement made in the book that can tell you all that you need to know about Freemasonry. On page 321, discussing the 19th degree, they reveal who their God is. It says, the apocalypse is, to those who receive the 19th degree, the apotheosis of that sublime faith which aspires to God alone and despises all the pomps and works of Lucifer. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning, it is he who bears the light, and with his splendors, a whole bunch of other stuff. Doubt it not, for traditions are full of divine revelations and inspirations, and inspiration is not one of age nor of one of creed. Plato and Philo also were inspired. Okay, there we have it. Lucifer is their God, and they are spreading his light to the world. The ultimate defeat and extinction of evil is going back to Lucifer's whole goal of being like the Most High and ascending to his heights. They believe that the true God of the Bible is evil, and their mission is to remove his influence from the world. The religion of Freemasonry is charged with spreading the light of Lucifer to the world. Their belief is that the ultimate defeat and extinction of evil is the influence of Yahuwah in this world. They believe that our Father is evil, and it has been their goal to promote this idea and promote a complete misunderstanding of him so that the inhabitants of this world do not only not know our Father, but they think that he is evil and his way is evil, which is what people feel. Here's a paradigm shift I want you to have. I want you to look at every movie when they're depicting a battle of good versus evil. Let's use the biggest one. The biggest one would be Avengers Endgame. When the armies of the world come to defeat Thanos, here's the paradigm shift you need to understand and see. Thanos will be who they're depicting Yahuwah to be, the oppressor of the world who wants to bring judgment and kill the inhabitants of the world. This is how they depict him. And so they promote the world to fight against this evil god by uniting for a common good. That's why this movie had like the Battle of Armageddon in there. If you go back to all of your movies and major promotions of the concept of good versus evil, you must understand that they have inverted reality, so that they use satanic symbolism and they promote their satanic ways all throughout the content, but they're guiding us to believe that our Father Yahuwah is the evil one and who the world needs to be rallied against. And when they do, they will be defeating evil when they come against it. This is the same goal at the Tower of Babel, just presented in a sophisticated, deceptive way that the majority of the world has fallen for. It's very deep, but it is what you're witnessing. This is what is happening in this world today, and the majority do not recognize it because Freemasonry has been spreading their false religion and their false light. And the only way that you have power over it is through the power of Yahuwah. You must call on his true name. They have kept his name from us because they don't want us to walk in his power. They didn't want us to know him. You must walk against that. This is why you can speak against these things if you walk in his power. But if you're not walking with Yahuwah, you need to stay clear of this because you are not protected against the enemy. I want you to also note that they mention Plato as being inspired by the satanic influence. And in the Testing Christianity series, I went in depth on explaining how Christianity is intertwined with Greek philosophy from philosophers like Plato. Like I already proved, the doctrine of the Trinity itself is complete Neoplatonism, of which is by their own account influenced by a Luciferian doctrine. Let me wrap it up though. On page 328, when discussing the 20th degree, the book explains, the ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry has now become what Masonry at first was meant to be, a teacher of great truths, inspired by an upright and enlightened reasoning, a firm and constant wisdom, an affectionate and liberal philanthropy. And page 817, discussing the 30th degree, explains, all that will become the heritage of the temple, the world will soon come to us for its sovereigns and pontiffs. We shall constitute the equilibrium of the universe and be rulers over the masters of the world. See, this is the plan. And we're looking at the world the way it is now from 1872 when this was made. It's very easy to see that their goal is being realized. We're all walking right through it right now, watching it happen. And that is a great deal of background information on what Freemasonry is and what and who they believe in. They are the priests of this world that are directing it to a new world order. There are so many other points to cover within this topic, but I will let Father lead me on where to go with it next. Because this is very evil, and I don't actually want you to focus on this more than understanding exactly what this is all about, because this is what you're seeing right in front of you happening right now. And so if you don't really understand what their goal is and what they've been trying to do and who it is that's been trying to do all this, you might not really understand exactly what you're seeing being played out in real time, because it's happening right in front of our face right now. And the problem is Christians are so blind and they don't really see exactly what's happening right in front of them, because they follow pastors that are Freemasons and they follow a religion created and led by Freemasons. They just don't understand exactly that they're being led and steered by the enemy, and they walk with so much pride that they feel that they cannot be deceived, but that this is all just conspiracy theories. But yet there are Freemason lodges in every city that they live in, and they don't know anything about what these people believe in and what they're doing there. They just ignore it and act like it's no consequence to them. But again, if I impress anything upon you, I want you to know that you should never trust a Freemason. Just by the fact that they are Mason means that they are able to keep secrets and are bound to them. They can lie to your face and never feel a way about it. They have taken oaths that will supersede their family and obligation to our Father in heaven. So you should know that if you have a pastor that is a Freemason, you should never trust a thing out of their mouth. I went into this in the Black History Month series. This is a huge occurrence in the Black community. Again, if your pastor is a Freemason or you see a lot of Freemason symbols on license plates in your church parking lot, run from that church. Don't go back there. Run. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. That's Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. You see, these men are pushing darkness to the world, but calling it light. They believe they are agents of light, though they are truly agents of darkness. It's just that they are on the opposite side of the battlefield, and because their secrets are so concealed and many of us just walk in ignorance to the world that we live in, many of us just have no idea of it at all. But they are a complete opposite of you. And many of you, you go to churches where your pastor is in the complete opposition of the faith that you say you believe in. Where do you think that they're leading you? This is why it was so easy for so many of these churches to shut down during the times of COVID, because it's not real. This religion that people are in, it's not real. The scriptures are the truth, and that's why we must abide in them. But most people are not abiding in the scriptures, they're abiding in religion, and that's why they're being led astray. The scriptures have prepared us for this, though, and told us that this is exactly what Satan will do. The Apostle Paul warned us in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 14 and 15. And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 14 and 15. So many of you are following Satan's ministers who transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, but they are ministers of Satan's false light. And many people do not recognize it because they don't know the word itself. They just follow religion and believe this is what religion is. So let's close this out. What is Freemasonry? It's an organized religion tasked with the goal of spreading the light of Lucifer to the world. Its goal is it desires to rebuild Solomon's temple and save humanity through their Messiah. It is a religion masked and covered by secrets and charity. They are agents of darkness masquerading as agents of light. This part of the world has been hidden from us, and they have been covering up their intentions on bringing about their new world order and their false Messiah. And those that are following the lies of this world and moving in its direction are being led by them. It's important that you wake up and make sure you are not being led and steered by darkness. You must worship our Father in heaven in spirit and in truth and reject the lies and the blasphemy. Knowledge is power, and that's why they have hidden themselves in the shadows. It keeps all of those who cannot see them without power. The goal of this ministry is to reverse this and keep those who truly love our Father ready for our Messiah's coming. Please stay ready and awake. Remember John's warning in his first epistle, chapter 4, verse 1. He says, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of Elohim, because many false prophets have gone out into the world." 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. After watching this, I'm sure you can see how true and powerful that guidance is. Live through that warning and rest on our Father's word and live in his truth. Hold on to righteousness and be a living witness and testimony of our Father in heaven. Believe fully in Yahushua HaMashiach and reject the false Messiah that is preparing to come. Because he's coming. Donald Trump is not it, but he will be blamed and made to be look like one. The time is absolutely now to live in the truth, but it is your choice. Who will you choose? Make the right decision and submit your life to Yahushua right now. Your time is almost up. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please make sure to like this and share this with others. If you have not done so already, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Also, don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. Listen, I want to thank everyone for all the support of this ministry. I truly appreciate the prayers and the support. All the messages of love and understanding are overwhelming, and they truly bless me. As always, I want to thank all who donate to this channel. Your donations and support are a sincere blessing to this ministry. I'm extremely appreciative for your love, your offerings, and your support. Thank you, and be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching, everyone. I love you all.